Peace, everybody. How y'all doing? This is Dr. Samori Swygert signing in. Today, I just want to share with you a piece that I did before, but it's more so in article form. I wanted to give it to you in audio for you to think about. Oftentimes, we don't have enough time in the day to kind of sit down and read. But, you know, when we're on the treadmill, when we're biking, when we're jogging, we're walking, we're driving in our car to work or driving from work, or, you know, something of that nature, we have a little bit of leisure time where we can pop in our headphones and just listen. We're able to sneak in a little bit more information and knowledge into, you know, in what we do. So I want to get your opinion on this. I'm going to read this to you, and hopefully it will resonate with some of you guys. So this was entitled "America the Great Will Soon Be America the Dead." So let's get into it. It goes like this. Autopsy of the American Economic Empire. An autopsy is a post-mortem examination of a body to determine the cause of death. I'm forecasting the pathology of the collapse of our American economic empire. I believe the cause of death of the American economy will be the extreme advancement of technology. My hypothesis: the rapid and extreme advancement of technology and widespread integration of technology in all labor sectors will create profuse unemployment that will eventually destroy our economy. See, technology will increase the revenue by businesses and corporations in the short run, but there is something that we have to think about when we forecast the end. Now, first, we must remember that the American government is based on tax revenue. Second, in order for an economy to function smoothly, there must be two major components. Those two components are, number one, the producer, and number two, the consumer. The producer is responsible for providing goods and services to a society at a price. The consumer is responsible for purchasing the goods and services from the producer with the money the consumer has or has earned. Now, let's talk about the producer-consumer interdependence. Producer-consumer interdependence. Consumers obtain money from the wages of labor they provide, meaning you work and you get paid, or investments, stock, real estate, things of that nature, or an inheritance, you have wealth passed down, or whatever the case may be, charitable donations, or criminal activity. These are the primary methods in which citizens will obtain money, currency. Now, when citizens are unemployed and devoid of the aforementioned sources of money, they have no purchasing power because you have no money. If you don't have any money, you cannot purchase anything. This means you cannot afford to buy goods and patronize services of the producers in our economic system. Now, producers, they accumulate revenue when shoppers spend money on their products and services. Now, what happens when unemployment is high? The producer will see a decrease in sales because people don't have money, they cannot purchase goods and services. And so now the producer must either toggle between making their products more affordable or downsizing their employees through layoffs, and or tweak their supply and demand algorithm to avoid the loss of money in surplus due to overproduction of a product or service. Balancing that in a time of underconsumption because people are unemployed and they don't have enough money to consume. So producers will have to balance production with underconsumption. Now, let's talk just a bit about what's going to happen with technological substitution for money. Okay? Now, many producers are now incorporating and integrating groundbreaking software, innovative apps, sophisticated robotics, autonomous computers, automation, and yes, robots that do build robots, These convenient innovations will eventually convert payroll expenses to a kind of pseudo income. What do I mean by that? I mean this. This is not really income per se for producers, but it's a way to trim the budget and stop the hemorrhaging of payroll expenses. See, because you have to pay your employees for the work and service they provide. But if I'm able to substitute a robot, a machine, a computer, some automation, and filter out the human labor and replace it with the technology, then I am actually taking expenses. I'm taking the money that I would pay a human in payroll expense, and I'm now pocketing that money. Now, human labor will begin to be viewed as unnecessary to producers. Producers will cut human labor down to a minuscule number. The remaining human employees will be those individuals that are trained, skilled, and certified to basically oversee and monitor the operations and functions in the manufacturing process by computers and robots. This will lead to massive unemployment on a nationwide scale and even globally. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg when we talk about fiscal cliffs, recessions, depressions, and all the other economic hardships that we've seen over the last couple of years. If you follow a lot of the big name corporations, they are constantly laying off thousands of workers, and that's no joke. You can Google that. Just Google layoffs, and you'll see all these companies cutting jobs like it's nothing. Now let's talk about the government. The American government operates within a system of checks and balances of the three branches: the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. All three branches, all government agencies, federal and state, are subsidized by tax-based revenue. Remember I said that. They are subsidized by tax-based revenue. You tax the citizens on their income. You tax the corporations for their income. One thing that we also must understand is that a lot of the corporations now are warehousing billions to trillions of dollars offshore, overseas, in the Canary Islands, in Singapore, Luxembourg, Swiss bank accounts. So money that really could be tax revenue to keep the government running proficiently is no longer accessible to the American government for their daily operations, because the companies are now taking that money and they're putting it overseas. So it's hands off America until you come up with some real legislation, and not even just legislation, it's enforcing it. How do you recycle that money back into America? Okay? Now, so we said that's the corporations. We know that they tax us. You have to pay your federal income tax. Now, what does this mean? This means, pay attention, that all of Congress, the military, the FDA, the ATF, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Social Security Administration, Medicare, Supreme Court, the DIA, meaning the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Bureau of Prisons, the NIH, the IRS, the USDA, and hundreds of other government agencies that I'm not even listing, they all function based off of what? Working citizens' tax money. Okay? Taken from Peter to pay Paul. But here's the thing. If everybody is getting laid off in this new trend where corporations and businesses are swapping out human labor, human capital for computers, computer software, digitization, automation, and robotics, and everybody is unemployed, where is the tax revenue being derived if nobody is getting paid. You can't say income tax if there's no income. So, what happens when government agencies, corporations, and other businesses adopt this no help wanted philosophy because human labor is substituted for technology? The answer is they all fall like dominoes. Government agencies will then be forced to lay off more government employees because there's no tax-based income from unemployed non-government employees. This means federal and state prisons will become inoperable because they lack the tax-based revenue to pay the warden, the corrections officers, and other staff. The only prisons that will really be operable and functioning proficiently would be private prisons. So now you're talking CCA, and I think it's G4S or something like that. The companies that initially laid off human employees, now here's the kicker, the companies that initially laid off human employees will begin to collapse because no citizen will be able to afford the products the companies sell or services they provide. Essentially, their operational expenses will bankrupt them because they have no viable consumer base. They would be making products they can't sell. So the same companies, as I said in the beginning, there will be, when they implement all this technology nationwide and people become displaced from their job, you're going to see a spike in generated revenue for a lot of companies. But eventually it's going to taper off and taper off drastically because people will not have jobs, and because they don't have jobs, they will not be able to buy the goods and services. Thus, you're going to see a lot of companies start folding and going bankrupt. Now, here's the other end. Loans will go into default because you don't have money. Houses will go into foreclosure again. Schools will become inoperable because of the inability to pay teachers and staff from state and local budgets that are also dependent on human tax-based revenue from the state they reside. Anarchy will ensue because state and local funding of police departments for pay and equipment are also completely dependent on human tax-based revenue. Yes, our police and authorities are paid. Their whole budget is based off of tax revenue. If there's no employed citizens or a small quantity, a modicum, a small portion of citizens that are employed, that means you have a very small amount of tax-based revenue. Not enough to pay your police officers, not enough to pay your firefighters, not enough to pay your paramedics. You see where I'm going? That's going to lead to anarchy. Our military will weaken because soldiers will begin to abandon their call to duty. Think about this. I want you to think about this really well. Why would soldiers risk their life when neither they nor their family will be financially compensated? Remember, the soldiers, they're paid from tax-based revenue the government collects. Okay? Volunteering your soldierly valor for the sake of geographical pride when your family is hungry and starving and thirsty and needing and requiring housing and suffering health-wise and impoverished is nonsensical. Soldiers will be forced to choose between the loyalty to the military that is not even paying them as they put their lives at risk, or the loyalty to their biological family that raised them their whole life, that is in urgent need. Next portion. Vultures smell death. So, nationwide failures in systems, infrastructure, construction, maintenance, research, and other projects, they're going to crumble due to a lack of tax funding. This will ultimately lead America to borrow more money from the Federal Reserve just to keep the nation functioning. This will keep us in debt, further in debt to the Federal Reserve. We're already in debt to the Federal Reserve. But that's going to dig us in deeper. Citizens that have, this is what I want everybody to pay attention to. This is so key right here. Citizens that have student loans, car loans, mortgages, business loans, credit card debt will be considered serfs in a system of feudalism. And the feudal kings in the feudal system will be the major corporations that have warehoused decades of billions of dollars. The feudal kings will be foreign banks. The feudal kings will be the Federal Reserve and whoever is the strongest military on the planet at the time. Then you have foreign countries like China and the Federal Reserve that have the U.S. already in debt. They'll eventually come to collect what they are owed and rightfully deserve. And our inability to repay them will call for repossession of American resources and land. You owe me money, America. I want my money. If you don't have my money, I want what you got. I'm taking what you got. I'm here to repossess. I'm here to collect. I want your land. Understand, this is how the game goes. This is similar to not paying your car note for an extended period of time. Eventually, one day you wake up and your car is missing because it's been repossessed. Now, we're winding down. So, as I want to say, this is just my opinion and stepwise logic. I predict the cause of death of the American economy will be ruled an overdose of technology on the death certificate. What say you? Like I said, this is Dr. Samori Swygert, and the title of this one is America the Great Will Soon Be America the Dead, or Autopsy of an American Economic Empire. All right, hit me on Twitter if you like this. Let me know what's going on. Hope everybody's doing well. And that's about it. Take care, and hope to get back with you guys soon. Peace.